No, I'm just kidding. But the more I think about that, it kind of puts into perspective, like, do I fucking want to do anything? Nah. Also, I'm going to order a sub.
Somebody that was growing up broke.
I disagree with that. You can mow lawns for a few months and make like a few $1,000s.
You know how many lawns I'm going to have to mow?
It's a lot of lawns.
He's a multi-millionaire. Please welcome Tim Sykes.
The key to my success is just working hard, like
trading.
18 to 20-hour days every day of my life, and having no life, but having a lot of money.
I think it's consistency,
That doesn't sound very
waking up
fun.
every day, doing things that I need to do, not just because I want to do them, but because I have to do them.
3 years ago, I was serving Captain and Coke as a server. I feel like a lot of people think that this happens overnight when it's really been a lot of work.
I think so many women in the last
It just grew from doing it for
20
friends
years?
and family, and it grew into like a crazy thing.
What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. I think it's so
have
important
become
that
millionaires
you
from
live below your
e-commerce.
means
It's
and
amazing.
live frugally and really focus on what's most important to you.
I think millionaires get a bad rep. I try really hard to serve other people.
I am self-made. 3.
Wait, how do you guys know Graham? Oh, he's a YouTuber. All I saw was real estate agent / investor. Does he make content about real estate?
Means and live frugally and really focus on what's most important to you.
I think millionaires get a bad rep. I try really hard to serve other people.
I am self-made. 3, 2, 1, go.
Growing up, I didn't have anyone in my family that was in real estate. I didn't have anyone in my family that had millions of dollars. And so for me, I do remember being like 15, 16 years old, having 20 bucks and working part-time after school and like saving away all that money. And then I used that money to get my real estate license. I barely graduated high school. I never went to college.
He has his own millennial money
parents,
episode.
So I should not
Cool.
have become wealthy statistically. But I believe that I put in the work and I really wanted something and I was really determined and I really enjoyed what I do and that accumulated to where I am today.
I literally started from the bottom. I'm not saying that I was ever homeless or anything. I grew up in a single family household. We ended up sharing like a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people living in 1 bed. Living through those struggles really did put into perspective that I just wanted more out of life. So I went out there and I did whatever it took to build my wealth. And even though all odds were stacked against me, like I failed out of business administration, my counselor told me I would never make it in business, but I took that and it lit a fire under me to prove her wrong almost.
I feel like personally self-made has to be somebody that was growing up broke, in my opinion. Like you got it from the bottom, and I didn't get it from the bottom.
I disagree with that. I don't think you need to come straight from the bottom. Like I started with a few $1,000s. I know a lot of people who started their whole businesses with a few $1,000s.
A few thousand is more than what I had, so in
but
my
it doesn't matter.
mind,
Like a few thousand isn't going to make or break your business, like your life. Like you can't.
$0?
Let's say you start with $1,000. I still believe you're self-made.
This is actually a very interesting point. Chat, what do you guys think? Do you think someone needs to come from being broke, or that having, like, even being okay or having some money in the bank means that you're not self-made? You know, I've never even thought about myself being self-made. But when I think about it, like, I guess for me, I just feel like people have so much privilege in different ways. And I feel like even having internet is such a privilege. But I am not saying this to say that certain people aren't self-made because they have privilege. In my opinion, I always thought it was also like if you don't have rich parents or you're not being helped in insane manners, then you're more or less self-made to me. But I guess the reason I never really applied that to myself is just because I felt very lucky. A small loan of $1 million. Only one. You should talk to the Kylie Jenner Kardashian family.
Even 10,000, even 20,000, because you're not truly like even 6 figures or 7 figures.
I'm broke and I live at mom's house with $0. You're in a way better position than me.
You can mow lawns for a few months and make like a few $1,000s. Like there's ways
You know how
to
many
make,
lawns I'm gonna have to mow?
It's a lot of lawns, but that is self-made.
I know what it feels like to be poor. 3, 2, 1, go.
There's a difference between being poor and being broke. I've been broke before, like me and my husband have been broke many times.
Why did they high five? You've never been poor either? Is that not weird?
Times in like our relationship.
Rich people gang.
But we've never been poor. And even like a long time ago when I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with my family, we were never poor. I mean, I was happy. Like I had pudding. We went to like parks and stuff. I never felt poor.
And when I was 7 years old, I got kicked out.
I think that is definitely the kind of thing that is good to realize and be appreciative of. Because I'm kind of the same way. Like, sure, when I went to university, like I racked up hella debt, but growing up and even in uni, being able to get loans and knowing that like if all else failed, like I have a family, I have a home to go to, that's huge. And my mom will buy me pudding.
And moved into my grandparents' garage, and so I was poor mentally and I was broke financially, and I had to take care of myself at a very young age. So for a decade I was running a pool company in order to eventually gain the opportunities to ultimately move that ball down the court, obviously. So
But were you happy?
I mean, I wasn't, not really, right? Because there was a lot of stuff going on, and like I'm living in a garage and I'm growing up, and I had to not only become rich financially, but also mentally.
I know what it's like to have everything and lose it all. So for me, my parents split when I was young. My family was broken. My mom had to then support 2 children. My dad had some nasty habits with gambling and lost everything. So he had a lot of debts that my mom ended up having to be chased for. And basically, I was 12 years old when I got my first job going door-to-door sales, selling newspaper subscriptions, and I had to bust my ass off to help my mom. So for me, I feel like we all start from somewhere and we go through certain motions because it builds character.
I like that. I'm jealous.
Dude, same here. I mean, the only part that I'm saying is that my first like job in a sense was delivering newspaper, and I remember I would think like, oh, I have to deliver newspapers 2 to 3 times a week. I have to do 50, 60 houses. That means, and I would make like, I don't know, maybe like $100 every 2 weeks. I don't even recall. And I would literally calculate it down to every single time that I put a newspaper in front of a home, I'm making like $0.33 or something like that. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is I still recall those experiences so vividly because it's that point at which you really learn the value of a dollar, in the sense that you can do X amount of work and it amounts to this if you put in the work. Dude, when you're like 13, $100 is like $1 million. Like getting $100 a month from newspaper delivery, you're like, fuck yeah. I could buy stuff sometimes.
Jealous of you guys.
And so I think it's very important to learn like how to budget, how to break down money, how to break down like how much you can work and how much you can provide for yourself with that amount of work. And I don't mean to like, I also know that whether it depends on the country that you're in or the job that you are even able to get, that can vary widely for people. I'm just saying this because I feel like you can sometimes tell between the difference between people who have never had to work a job like that and the people that have.
I wish I had that mindset. Like I travel to third world countries to kind of see what it's like, but I still can't put myself like totally in that spot.
I feel like, again, broke and poor are 2 different things. Like I grew up in a 2-parent home. I, went to prom in a Bentley. Like I grew up really, really great. But then I hit 20 and I moved out with some boy. And the situation got very, very domestic violence-y. Now, I was living in a penthouse, and I'm sorry, I got too much pride. I wasn't gonna go back home. And I'm like black and blue, like getting locked in like closets, like really, really toxic stuff. So that for me was very, very poor. Now, did it slingshot me to 6-figure a month income? Yes. But in that state of mind and in that environment, I felt like I was really poor. Like,
I'm so curious what her story
and my direct
is.
deposit was not gonna fix a black eye, you know, like.
So I think she's saying I mean, I still don't agree with her going here though, because didn't she have money? Like, I think it's totally fine to say that you came from a bad place, but she had money. And I'm very curious to understand why she said it slingshot her into a 6-figure income. Jesus Christ. That's not to say she wasn't in a very, very, very bad place though. Her situation really was.
I should pay more in taxes. 3,
Drug lord?
2,
Oof, I hope
1,
not.
Go.
I feel like, you know, you make more money, you obviously do have to pay somewhat more, but I don't feel like we deserve extra things to pay just because we have more money. Like, we shouldn't be looked to as like a fund, you know, from the government or someone else who just feels like, oh, you have more money, you should pay more in taxes.
I just feel like there should be a little bit more freedom with it because it's really, really stressful. And I feel like a lot of businesses fail in the first 3 years because of taxes, not because they're bad at business, not because.
Is that true? Because I feel like there must be a lot of tax breaks, especially if you don't earn much, and especially if you're a business. Especially if you're a business. I would really be curious to know, like, statistically speaking, why most businesses fail. And what is the percentage of them that fail because of tax-related issues? And also, is it a tax problem or is it a budgeting problem?
Because they're bad at managing money, but because they're not prepared to do everything by the book.
I mean, I just don't appreciate it when big companies who sell a lot of their services, like in the U.S., and then they have some like Ireland tax status where they're getting out of it, like Apple and
that's
Amazon,
fucked
and these
up.
big companies that theoretically should pay billions in taxes, while it's us average people who are really supporting the government. I think there should be a little less inequality there.
Amazon paid $0 in taxes.
Did you see Bezos is donating to Australia for the wildfires? He donated $690,000.
Yeah.
And he makes an average of $200 million per day.
Yeah.
He put out a whole press release, and I'm just like, come on, dude, like, give a little more.
To be fair, they have created a lot of jobs for people. I actually sell on Amazon, so through Amazon.
That's average people.
FBA.
Oh my god.
It's provided an opportunity for people like me to make a living for myself, to be
You're
able
a
to start
boss
a
at
business,
Amazon.
you know, online, and to be able to make internet money. So like to have that freedom, and like whether we think that he needs to give more or not, I mean, that's really up to him what he does with his money.
I've spent an absurd amount of money on something because I can. 3, 2, 1, go.
My husband just got a Lamborghini and he had a Mercedes. It was like a 90 grand car and he added like a 200 grand car. And I'm like, why'd you do that? Like, you don't need to do that. He's like, well, I mean, I could, so why not? Like, I want to, it's fun. I'm like, you can't even drive it to the grocery store. Like, you can't use this car for anything.
I mean, I grew up wanting cars. Like, my whole bedroom was like plastered with cars on the wall. And then when I could actually buy it, it was like
it's so fun, right?
Well, it was fulfilling a childhood dream. It wasn't even about.
What do you guys consider would be an absurd amount of money? If you have $1 million, what is absurd with that in regards? 100K. Is 100K a fair number? Even 50K. I've never spent 50K, 100K. I'm trying to think about what is the most like, I feel like the only things you can spend that much money on really are like a house or a car. What is the most expensive thing I've ever bought? Honestly, you guys must know. What is the most expensive thing I've ever bought? Student loans don't count. Because it's not really an absurd thing. I think mine were like 22K. So definitely that. I want to think PC, but a PC is like 3K, 4K, 5K maybe? A trip to Japan is way less than 5K. I think the most expensive thing I might have purchased would probably be like, I won't lie, at one point, I was looking at some bags. And I may or may not have a bag that cost about as much as my PC, you know what I'm saying? But never like 10K plus, never 5 figures or even less. I can't even think of anything that's worth it. A car? Bitch, I ain't going nowhere. What else can you even buy? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest about that one. And you know what? I'll give it away. No, I'm just kidding. But nah. Yeah, aside from that, anything that's over like $1,000 is always like equipment for me.
The car, it was the challenge.
Yeah.
Then once I had all the cars, the thrill was gone, so I didn't need it. So
Yeah.
I think that you should all have like dreams and chase those dreams, whatever they are. Maybe they don't cost that much.
But I mean, not everything's materialistic. Like when I started making money, I changed my body.
Yeah,
I went and
I mean, yeah,
upgraded
that's
my
what everyone
chest.
does.
I went and cleared my skin.
Yeah.
I went and got a tattoo.
Yeah.
I went and got my, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
go and get hair extensions. Like,
I've definitely
Upgraded
purchased
my
things in
body.
the past that were cool, and it was because I could, but as time's gone on.
Listen, lady, my body is a temple. Would you like a tour or an interview?
Along for me, I've realized so many times that every time I hit the goal or the destination or the target, I realized that the journey was so much more fun. And as I've achieved more success and built more
What a
companies,
fucking meme.
it's almost every time now where I get there and I'm like, man, the journey was actually funner than the destination.
I'm kind of over here with you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because like, I used to buy a lot of bags. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, and then once I got there, it was kind of like, I don't have a man, I don't have kids. What am I doing?
But the question wasn't like, what do you think about what's important now? It's like, have you done it in the past? You can't change your past. If you do, are we doing that?
but I can
Changing
call
the
her
future?
out.
Like, what do you think about
Call her
material
out.
possessions now? Like, I'll change. I don't need them.
Call her
But
out!
in the past, I've had them. So I've fulfilled my childhood dreams. Now I'm good.
True. Fair. That's so fair.
One of humanity's biggest problems. 3, 2, 1, go.
Pretty sure my parents make under 200K.
If we're talking about getting like successful, inequality is definitely not a problem. Like
Inequality is one of humanity's biggest
a
problems.
homeless person has rose to
Past, I've had
3, 2, 1, go.
If we're talking about getting like successful, inequality is definitely not a problem. Like a homeless person has rose to fame overnight. I mean, if we're talking about inequality like with like the country, yeah, like, you know, that exists, but to become successful, inequality is not a problem. You know, anyone can make it.
I guess the issue with inequality is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are not having access to those means.
Well, no, because I feel like my husband, he grew up in like the ghetto of LA. Like he had nothing. He worked as a dishwasher technician, and now he drives a gold Lamborghini and he had a gold Mercedes and he can buy whatever the hell he wants. You don't need to be like a white guy to make money, you know? Like you don't need to grow up in...
You know what? Like, again, I don't think she has bad intentions. I think she just has so much anecdotal evidence. Exactly. And I would like it if she opened up her mind to the idea that, can people make it from being homeless and having no money? Yes. Does that mean that they have equal opportunity to someone that is born into a rich family with people that have a ton of connections and a limitless amounts of resources and money? No. And that is equality, equal opportunity. Not, is it possible? Is there one person that is homeless and they make it somewhere, and then you have 10 people that are rich and they are almost always in a position of power by the end of their lives anyways? So that's the rich getting
in a
richer
rich
type
area
of shit.
to make money. There's opportunities everywhere. Anyone can do it if they want to.
but
I think when you look at
I
the
don't disagree with that, yeah.
statistics, though, I think it's definitely doable. Like
The statistics, doll!
anybody can do it, but we still are in a day and an age where it's still not that common in the grand scheme of things. Like there's still a lot of people that, like you said, the rich get richer and the poor are either staying the same or not really getting that ahead right now.
I feel like there's still just a lot of inequality. I mean, like, we're all minorities, and you guys are all white. And then, like, growing up, if you put me in a 4th grade classroom and I say, show me a millionaire, you say, Apple, Amazon, Timothy Sykes, he's rich. And then you're like, okay,
Greater
show
things
me
for the gifted
somebody
subs.
black, show me somebody Asian, show me somebody Spanish. You're gonna be like,
It's very
Michael
limited,
Jordan.
right? It's extremely limited.
They don't know.
We need more examples.
My privilege has allowed me to become rich. 3, 2, 1, go.
I think the internet democratizes everything. I mean, I learned everything about stock trading on the internet, and many of us take advantage or capitalize on, things that are in the market, and the internet allows us to become experts.
Would you say
So-
the internet's a privilege, though?
No, I mean, you want to get like into semantics, like it's a privilege to be alive during this time in history where
But
we have the
internet, just in a sense, if you're broke, you may not have it. So you have to
You
like
can
walk
get free
to,
Wi-Fi.
you have to walk
You
to
can
Starbucks.
beg on the street, and you can get.
But I have to walk there. It's not a
You could
privilege.
be paralyzed, and you could like push yourself. There's a way to get on the
Oh, Bish, you reaching a little bit. I'm usually on his side, but maybe not for this one.
internet. Almost every
Yes.
single person can get on the internet. The internet, I think, allows you to achieve anything, and it doesn't matter if you're in the U.S., if you're a man or a woman.
Well, I feel like that's for internet business.
Oh, are you disabled and you can't push yourself? Float. Like, no, it is very, very good to recognize where certain people may have difficulty doing things that others have an easier time doing. Whether it's because of their gender, their race, whether they have an able body or not, all of that.
is like-
And I also want to add that I think sometimes we get a bit too caught up in either feeling like a victim or feeling guilty because you're privileged. I just wish people would get to a point where they can recognize that someone can have struggles in some way and privileges in others. Like for me, even within gaming, I probably have the privilege of like being white, but maybe the disadvantage of being a minority female. So you have good and bad in like, and most people are like that. They have a mix of both. And I think it's just good to empathize with others instead of trying to compare or being like, I have a harder time than you, or I have an easier time than you, or I was broke so you can make it. Like, just empathy is better than comparison.
Like for me, it's more like beauty. Like for example, if I didn't like
Sorry, I mean white passing. Like technically I'm from Africa, but I'm a white. Is white passing the word, or white facing? I don't know the proper terminology, but you get what I mean. Like how people perceive me. I don't mean to say that as in like I am hiding the fact that I'm from Morocco or anything like that. Everybody knows that, but I think the color of your skin, a lot of people will judge you based off of that. They won't know where you're from. And I wish that wasn't the case. But I recognize that it is for a lot of people.
kind of look good, I'm not trying to be conceited, no one would trust me to like help them look better. Like for example, you're in stocks, that's not really privilege, you learned how to do that. My privilege has allowed me to make money just
Like even though I'm Moroccan, I've still benefited from white privilege, most definitely. In ways that I probably don't even know of. I'm so sorry. Maybe you guys were question marking because you're confused. Maybe some people think I look Asian or whatever it is, but
in
you
that
guys
case,
get
just
my
'cause it's like a
point.
beauty
If
industry,
you want to get
that's
my
it,
point,
you know?
you get my
So
point.
you can create privilege then too, right? Once you gain some momentum in life, it becomes easier in a sense, right? It becomes like you look at the exponential growth of success typically, and once you kind of create privilege a little bit, from what I've found at least, it does become a little bit easier. Like once you're there though, I mean, it could take 10 years to get there, but eventually you create the privilege. Doesn't mean you had to start out privileged.
This guy specifically, he said that he worked in a certain business for a decade in order to save up enough money to do what he really wanted to do. Now that's what he had to do and he was able to. However, if someone is born into money, they can just ask their parents for a loan and they have that 10-year advantage. And that's a privilege in and of itself.
For sure, and sometimes it's generational. Like if I was in my mom's shoes and I was actually born in Vietnam and and she didn't take that chance with her family to leave literally everything behind and come over to Canada, I may not be where I am today because she didn't, make that decision to bring our family over. Maybe I would have had to be the one to make that decision for my family, and then it's the next generation that basically built off of that. So it really is situational.
People judge me because I'm rich. 3, 2, 1, go.
We live in a world where social media is extremely prevalent. So like being on YouTube or Instagram or social media, a lot of it's like perceived. You are constantly getting like quote unquote judged. In my
Right, but
opinion.
even on social media, it really just depends what you post. That's very
I want to
much
know
just
what
the
that
control
girl's
of
gonna
environment.
say.
Just for social media. Like I don't
Right.
even, if you ask me what time it is, I check my iPhone. I don't even know if this thing works. But like when you're trying to grow your business, especially for me, like in stock trading, why do you get into stock trading? Is it fun? No, it sucks, but you can make money. So for social media, you kind of have to show it.
But even with social media, I mean, if you have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, I think you're rich.
Yeah.
Because I know YouTube is writing you a check, and I'm judging you off
Direct
that.
deposit.
But that's my point. Like, you don't
He's
have to
cute.
post a flashy watch. You don't have to post a nice car anymore. Like, if I see, you know, a large amount of subscribers
not
on
a
a
check.
monetized platform,
That's too much work.
I know you're getting direct deposit. I know something's keeping your lights on. Now, I'm not judging you in a bad way. Of course, you know, I work every day to try to make videos too. But in the same sense, like, we judge people that ask us for money.
Money can buy happiness.
We didn't even get to hear what she said.
2, 1, go.
I'd be on somewhat agree.
It's kind of like that poor broke mentality all over again. Like if you're rich and you're like in a domestic violence relationship, like you're not happy even though you might have money, but still money can buy fun things. And looking back, like you're proud of your accomplishments, you're proud of the journey that you took to get to where you are, and in a way it can buy happiness.
Money allows you to buy freedom.
Oh my God, someone was like, is this Spectrum? Doesn't Spectrum suck? And I was looking at the Jubilee thing, and then I realized it says Spectrum Prompt. And now it doesn't.
And then freedom gets you the ability to have more time to find what makes you happy. It's not a direct result.
But it could be like, let's
You're not gonna shit on my stream for 6 months to then get a free hashtag ad. Hell to the motherfucking no!
say your
Sorry.
mom or your dad or somebody that had a
No.
severe illness, you know, was in the hospital and they had X amount of time to live. Now this person makes you extremely happy, and it's going to cost $1 million or $2 million for this surgery that
And
they
you
need
save them.
to survive, and you save them. Like, you quite literally just bought happiness. Now that's not to say that it buys happiness in every area of life. Like,
But it can.
But in certain areas, like, yeah, money definitely can buy happiness.
My most fulfilling asset is the house that I bought my parents.
Exactly.
And I am so grateful
And
to be able to
you
do
were
it.
serving another person.
100%.
Exactly.
Right, it's like pouring from an empty cup. You need to make sure that you fill your cup before you help other people. And I think it goes back to donating, or people expect you to give more because you have more, but really it's not selfish for you to want a lot of money or to want that time freedom. And it really just depends on your definition of happiness, what makes you happy. And we all find that, I guess, reason at different points in our life. Some people figure it out really early on, and some people it takes them a lifetime to find out what makes them happy. So even though you could have a lot of money, if you don't know what that reason is that drives you to do the things that you do, then really you're just not going to be happy whether you have money or you to do the things that you do, then
Sorry, her face just looks like, bitch, shut the fuck up. I'm not saying that. I just thought the face
really you're
was
just not
funny,
gonna be happy whether
okay?
you have money or not.
As for money buying happiness, I think it's like money can spark joy, and I think for most people, you can't debate that having enough to just have a good baseline income, be able to take care of yourself, to eat, to put a roof over your head, like that is really important. And I feel like that's when you will get the most return out of the money that you have in terms of happiness. That's how you will get the most happiness out of the money that you can make. But I feel like making more and more and more and more past the point of what you need to sustain yourself doesn't mean more and more and more happiness in most cases. There was actually an interesting study done where they had someone who like got into an accident and became like, I think paraplegic, or they became disabled, and then they had someone who hit the lottery and made like millions of dollars, and they evaluated how happy those two people were. And after about a year, they had both come back to the same level of happiness that they were about a year ago. Which I think goes to show that, like, as human beings, like, the way that we work is just to get used to shit. You get used to it, whether it's good or bad, which is amazing in and of itself, and also just something to consider. How the fuck do you measure happiness though? It is really hard. I don't know the exact parameters that they used. I imagine like quizzes, quizzes, like an interview sort of thing. Is it called normalization? Yeah, an adaptation. So I guess that's what I mean by like money can't buy happiness forever. It can spark joy, but I feel like that's not what keeps people happy long term.